What's going on, audience? Welcome to the next one. In this one, I want to talk about discipline. The true meaning of the word discipline. It consists of the word dis and culpa, which is an error, mistake, and this is without, antithesis of the error. So discipline is whatever eradicates the error. But even this word error seems that like, oh, somebody done something that was not supposed to be. No mistake, no error is done intentionally from the heart. From the ego, sure, but from the heart, no mistake it is done, intentionally. It is just the way it is. And this idea that we come into this world, and it's kind of obvious to me that we come into this world with a certain type of distortions that we have in our heart, and these distortions create the reality. And one thing that came to my mind, guys, is that we got to live through the worst. Like, we can't stop. No matter how much we want it, we can't stop with the biggest fears from happening first. Because when the biggest fears manifest, that's the only way it's going to take you exactly to the source of that hurt, that pain, that doubt, that fear, that whatever. It's going to take you there. You're going to be there. You don't want to be there, but this is where you got to be there to face it. And so we can say, all right, the thing that I don't want is going to happen. All right. I'm going to face this. I'm going to face this all the way. This thing that I don't want. And whatever the triggers me, all right, fuck it, man. I'm going to go all in. And if you have this type of attitude, it only happens once. That hurt only happens once. And in a way, I could say that we're here to experience all what we call possible, the negative outcomes, in order to really connect to the fulfillment of those desires. Only when you're completely losing something that is the dearest thing to you, you're faced with the source of that attachment inside of you. And if you completely live it, that grief, that pain, completely live it all the way, whoa, it turns into what I would call connection. And it will never happen again. That experience will never happen again because you lived through it. The events may happen, but that, all right, there might be emotion still, but you'll see the grace in it because you connected with the grace. And so when you lose anything, you don't really lose it. That's what you learn. You don't really lose anything. You gain it. You gain the connection. I think somebody said when the ego loses, the soul gains. That's really true. And I don't know about you, but there is a certain type of freedom that's there when you accept the fact that all the negative, what we call negative events, are just going to take place whether you like it or not. You know? It's almost like we don't have control over it. It will happen. It will take us to the abyss or hell, whatever. That will allow us to face and live through it fully. Because if you live fully through whatever the life brings you, completely and fully, it's intense, it's insane. But if you don't leave no stone unturned, something amazing happens, man. That's all that is so graceful, so deep, so beautiful. And that is what brings you some control and power in your life. Fighting this thing that is about to happen, using your willpower, God forbid it will happen, controlling everything, rather than saying, fuck, I'm tired of fighting. Okay, bring it to me. What that is, what is this? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid? I'm afraid of losing the love of my life. What's more? I'm afraid of losing my wealth. You know, I'm afraid of doing this. All right, fuck it, bring it. Let's see. I'll take all the pain and I live through it once, so I don't have to suffer. And that's just like, if you have this type of attitude, you begin living life. And going back to the discipline, to use the discipline to postpone these things that you have to face. These events might already happen in the past, you know, and you just still have that hurt that you never really faced. Some devastating thing might have happened in the past, but you've never really lived it. And you just bear it up, and you just, as long as you use the discipline to fight off that pull to face the source of your emotions, as long as you use that discipline, you kind of run away. You're in a hamster wheel, but eventually you're just gonna get exhausted. You're like, oh fuck, I can't do this anymore. Okay, and that's just a misuse of willpower. And this is why, when I look at people call it discipline, again, they are misusing the word discipline, and they're actually confusing the word discipline with the coping mechanism. That's not discipline. If you have to punish your body because your heart hurts, that's not discipline. That's coping mechanism. If you have to bury your head and work all day long because your heart hurts, that's not discipline. That's a coping mechanism. If you have to starve yourself and fast yourself, you know, and torture your body because your heart hurts, that's not discipline. That's a coping mechanism. The true discipline begins from the very start of facing your emotions. That's the first discipline. And your soul, I talked about this before, and I call this 3 joysticks of life, and they contain 6 disciplines. In total, there are 12, but I have not arrived to those 12 yet. I just arrived to 6, which is obvious and clear to me. And how it relates to 12, I don't know. But I know that there are 12. Because there are 12 disciples, 12 disciplines, 12 spirit guides. It's because of geometry. That's all. That's the only reason. But sometimes when you can know some elements like in a periodic table, but then you know how the periodic table is shaped, you say like, oh shit, look at that, there's gotta be some elements here which I don't know yet, but there's gotta be there, because you go for the geometry, and that geometry suggests to me that there are 12, and I only discovered 6. But I also saw how people sometimes talk about like a spirit guides and 12 disciples, which is, Bible is a consciousness manual as far as I'm concerned. The stories in the Bible, you know why the stories in the Bible happen thousands of times? Because it's a universal archetype of the story. If they use about a specific person to write a story about a specific person, that specific person carried the archetypical lessons for everybody else who are living this journey, this video game, So that's why you can see yourself in all these characters in the Bible. And at some point, you've probably been all of those, right? So that's why it's best to use Bible as a consciousness manual, how it relates to you, and not to externalize it, because if you just keep it as a story and you don't really see the connection of how it actually relates to your personal life, you don't really draw that much value. You just idolize somebody outside you, and that's exactly what the authors did not want you to do. But anyway, I digress. Going back to 12 disciples and 12 spirit guides, if you will. In the previous video, I talked about that there's 7 in the soul, 7 in the mind, and 7 in the body, the 7 levels. And you may ask us where the 12 comes from. The 12 are non-personal. They're cosmic. Because, okay, I don't want to go into too much of this, but it's enough. That's enough to say that that there's possibly 12 disciples, 12 disciplines, and therefore 12 spirit guides. People can call it whatever they want to call it. But one thing is undeniable, is that there are 12 facets of life, 12 zodiac signs as well. As you can see, the wheel of zodiac, right? And there's 12 of these structures. You can call time-space structures. And you gotta learn, play all of them, and because there's reality always gonna drag you and guide you to the center of it. It will guide you to the center of it, because you know, even if you're like Gemini or Taurus or any kind of zodiac sign, and if you go on this hero's journey, you're not really Taurus, you're not really Gemini, you're not really Scorpion, you're not really. You are learning how to be all of them at once, in one lesson at a time. As the time goes, Taurus lessons, Gemini lessons, and it keeps on going like that, and bring every day, every cycle brings a certain type of challenge. That's why you feel that as the time goes by, it challenges my willpower. You meet that challenge with the willpower. As time goes by, it challenges your softness, the flowness. So you go, okay, you feel that, okay, now I gotta go with the flow, not pushing it. And then one comes along and says, brings you challenge like, oh, this one I gotta punch through. I cannot go with the flow with this one. So you punch through that one. And so that's the discipline. And so this reality, you can call 12 spirit guides, and it's totally fine to anthropomorphize those spirit guides, man. Like, I don't know. At first I thought that, yeah, they are geometrical structures, they are systems, but so am I. And at the same time, I have personality. So why can't, those structures have personality? I guess they can. But anyway, besides the point. You can call them archangels or whatever, spirit guides, but these are just words, but there are 12 of them. And they all inviting you to the center. They're all inviting you to the center. They're guiding you to the center. And because there's 12 of them guiding you to the center, there's 12 of them trying to distract you from it. And you can call it 12 benevolent spirits and 12 bad spirits. But those 12 bad spirits give you the challenge. It is very important to this. It's very important because those bad spirits brings you the challenge. You alchemize that. And you receive the guidance from that structure that guiding you to the center. Okay? You need both. There are 12 disciplines, but each discipline has, this side and that side. So, okay? Going more into the word, this culpa, and in Spanish actually, culpa is kind of means my, mea culpa, kind of my sin, right? My guilt, my mistake. Disculpa means that never mind my mistake kind of thing, right? And an apology is another word for it. But the real true apology is not the words that you say. It's something happens and you haven't hit the rhythm, let's say, right? And you feel shit. The real apology is to alchemize that feeling and feel good again about that event, about that person. That's the only way to a real apology that is real and genuine. Okay? And this soul level, because you can only have a true apology from your heart, from your soul. And there's, as always, like the point in the circle, the courage and surrender. Those two disciplines of the soul. And then there's two disciplines of the mind and two disciplines of the body. Really, it boils down to those, like, there is a, 3 joysticks, right? And as far as I know right now, there's this, moving to the center or moving away from the center, and I call it attention and awareness, what you can do with your emotions. You can be attentive of your emotions. And feelings, by the way, now I'm splitting up because I realize that this emotions and feelings are not the same. It's like me motion of my finger and sensing my finger are the sensing and motion, masculine and feminine. If I want to sense good, I cannot sense without the masculine creating emotion. This is why emotion is a masculine. It's like creating an emotion, and receiving that emotion is the feeling. That's feminine. But we actually will look for the feelings, but you cannot have the feeling without emotion. And that's what happens in the heart with attention and awareness. I mean, nobody can argue with this, and it's, and sometimes people can say it's kind of woo-woo. Man, I mean, if you can't feel your emotion, and if you call your emotions woo-woo, then there's nothing to talk about, man. But you don't need to believe into woo-woo. Feeling your emotions will open the doors and everything that you need to know, and then you make up your mind. Attention and awareness, that's your discipline in the soul. In the mind, it changes to intention and allowance. Again, I'm using these words, but your intention is, what is your intention? With the mind, you can have intention. And the mind, as I call, you want the dream, the pattern. The desire of the mind is the pattern. It wants to create a certain pattern, but it cannot. The pattern cannot be created without formation, information. So there's a masculine principle again, your intent to form something that takes shape. Whatever it's the house, the girlfriend, the car, whatever you want to dream about, you got to have that intent to dream it. And then that pattern comes in and meets your intent. And that comes in through the allowance. And there's also the capacity that you got to learn. Because sometimes you may want to dream about something, but a doubt comes in and says like, oh, see, it's not happening in your imagination. But if you don't listen to that and you allow this to be true, because imagination and dreaming is true, the mind is true. Whatever you imagine in your mind is not fake, it's happening, it's true. You see, so there's an intent in formation and then formation. Intent and allowance. And the pattern that you wanted, the dream that you wanted, you informed it. Okay, that's what the capacity of the mind is, the creator. Your mind is the creator, is God in this creator sense. It's not, it's more like a Neville's God. Neville Goddard, the author, he talked about the imagination is God. But in my model, my little humble model, the real God is behind the soul, behind all these emotions that go into the bliss and peace, and that bliss and peace merge together. And somebody said, God is transgender, but anyway, it's not transgender, because you can also distinguish the bliss and the peace as separate things, and then at some point they're indistinguishable. And that is actually the permanent dance of Shiva and Shakti, of God and a goddess. They're together, but they're separate. You can't argue that they're like, oh no, they're separate. No, they're together. They're one. No, they're two. No, they're one. This is the infinite argument. They're together and they're separate, and the brain cannot handle this. But only your soul, your heart can handle this. And it's in your heart, in your soul, with the attention and awareness, you can clearly see that, holy shit, they are separate and together at the same time. There's no competition there. It's just a permanent lovemaking. Another word for it, infinity, flux of those two energies. That's why it's so, there's fighting. It's like, male power, female power. Until you come together, there is no power. What power are you talking about? You gotta make this work somehow. And all this talk about, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, and stuff like that. I'm sorry to say that, man, but you came here to make it work. You gotta figure that shit out. That's your desire. You can't escape it. What, are you gonna give up on your desire to have a happy married life? Is that what you're gonna do? Are you gonna fool yourself? This my little model, and through your own personal observation and experience, you can see that it is so. It's unarguable. And if you argue, that's ego. Ego is the only thing that does not follow the law of how things work, of the nature. And if you say like, I don't need a woman, or I don't need a man, that's ego. Because everything comes in pairs, and you're not an exception. If you're a natural being, that you're not an exception. If you want to go with the ego, then you are something artificial, something not real. Sorry, I'm gonna have to finish because we don't have the light anymore. But if you give me 1 second, I'll bring you the light. No pun intended. Welcome back. We got the light. It's pretty good, no? Maybe a little too intense. That's pretty good. Okay. Where was I? Right. That everything comes in pairs. Um, Arguments only exist in the brain. No one ever won an argument. No one ever won an argument. Because it's not winning until both sides do. And this is why the real win, the real power is love, is harmony. It's not man versus woman. It's not a woman versus a man. That's all ego bullshit that will never ever give you the full satisfaction of life. It will give you something else, something very morbid. Like in one day you're gonna see like, what the fuck did I gain? I have a belief that I have a power over a person or whatever. Or I have a belief that I have a power over whatever, But that's not real power. That's ego. This is why I distinguish those two. The power and ego is the difference. And the real power is not in the separation. The real power is in the union. Okay? But that union is a scary place because you got to find that in the deepest realm of your emotions. And a lot of people are afraid of this. This is why they would choose power over somebody rather than go into the heart. And this is why, like we live in this life and we have to deal with the people who don't want to live from the heart. But that shouldn't prevent us to live from the heart. And we got to be okay of whatever that is going to bring. If I live from the heart, whatever that's going to be brought to me, it's going to be all right. If people change in your life, but you feel more love in your heart, that's all right. That's how you gauge whether you did something right or wrong. Love and truth in your heart. And the last one is the body, intention, and allowance turns into focused action. I call it focused action. Honestly, like the focus is enough because where you focus, the action will flow. And the other side would be relaxation, letting go that tension in the body. Right? You can totally do something that is focused, like your work, and getting shit done, without the tension in your body. In between, you're focused on it, but you're relaxed. That's how you work. You don't work like that. You gotta, and you don't relax so that there's no focus. In between, you find that zone. You're focused but relaxed. And you'll notice, like if you need to get shit done, you know, you may have like, oh shit, I gotta get shit done. It's like, and you do work with tension. Keep on working and relax and chill your balls, but keep on working. And you can keep on working while chilling, and it's gonna be all right. That's the best way to do the work. And I call this, that's the use of willpower, by the way. And in those three games, those three joysticks you have, or three games rather, you need energy for each one. And alchemy and devotion is what's gonna bring you that soul energy, uh, magic and obedience, that's going to bring you the, I I can call it, sometimes in the video they use mana, the word mana, and that's that. Mana is energy for magic, meaning that you capacity to imagine, or capacity to lucid dream, capacity to astral project, capacity to out of body experience. All this world of mind is fueled by mana, or astral power, soul power, mind power, you can call it soul power, mind power, and then the willpower or body power. These are just words, but there are these types of energies that you need to get you done. But the thing is with this trick is that you may ask, like, where do you get the energy from? The first energy comes from the sources, and that is when you do the alchemy and you face your emotions. Then the energy starts coming in. Then that goes into your imagination, and then you have the energy to dream, daydream, right? And then you have the energy to get shit done. And the way to build up that energy is by using soul power, by using your mind power, and by using your body power or willpower, you gain more of it. That's the paradox. Okay? And I'm just going to finish with talking about the genders, because you can see you cannot escape the gender throughout all these worlds. You can't argue that you have emotions, and that's what I call soul. You can't argue that you have visions, dreams, thought patterns. That's what I call the mind. And then you can argue that you are in this body, in this physical world. That's what I call a body. Man, it's obvious, no? Sensations. That's sensations, right? And the physical world is only for the sensations, the touch, the sight, the see. Like we're here to enjoy every sensation that is here. In the soul, we're here to enjoy all the emotions that are there. In the mind, we're here to enjoy all the beautiful patterns that we want to see in our life. So each world has its purpose. The chicken, the monkey, and the circus. Okay. So the sensations, you cannot have sensation in the body without motion. I'm moving my hands and I sense them moving because I'm moving them. Sensation and motion goes together. And so we're supposed to, in the physical world, we have to move through the world and sense what's going on. And if you focus on that, you're going to enjoy physical world. Because it's this all you can freaking get out of it. It's like even if you're doing the work, if you focus on enjoying the movements, enjoying the shapes that are moving around, that's what's going to bring you the most satisfaction in the physical world. And honestly, like all the sensations intrinsically are ecstatic if you focus on them and realize that your purpose in the physical world is to enjoy the sensations and nothing else. There's nothing else you can do here, because if you try, now you are saying that that your body and your brain has the capacity of the mind or the capacity of the soul. It doesn't. So you just let that shit go. If anything, emotionally, you got to resolve it. You don't use your brain or the body. Use your heart. If you don't like the shape that you see outside you, if you don't like the house, you don't have the car, you don't have the the girl, whatever, you use your imagination and you get whatever it's there. Use for that, right? You don't use your physical body. You don't forcefully try to change this. This is what brings me to this idea of free will, right? And the law says don't infringe the free will of people, right? And I had the beef with this because, like, If I desire something to do, let's say with somebody, wouldn't it that person want to do the same in a complementary manner? Not the same in the sense that, I want to do this and they want to do, that's competition, but the complementary manner. I want to do this and they're looking for somebody who wants, something like complementary. That, in my mind, that's how it's supposed to be. For example, in the mind, in a dream, whatever you want, in a lucid dream, your wish is granted immediately. And the characters in your dream, they don't have arguments. What you want, they want. Ideally, like if you're fully lucid. So why this should be different in physical reality? But you can say like, well, in the physical reality, like I want something, and then they act like they don't want something. So what the fuck is going on? And so, of course, infringement of free will would be like if I physically force them to do something, right, that they're afraid to do or whatever. But if I say, all right, the physical reality is not to force anybody to do something that they want to do, that is imagination. And you're not controlling that person, because you are actually, whenever you're alchemizing, you change your timeline. So the people are going to start behaving differently around you. They may even change. And whatever you imagine in your imagination, and it feels good, that means it's true. And that's what's going to come to you in your life. You're not really controlling people like a marionette. That would be a manipulation. That would be infringement of free will. But that infringement of the free will, that law, shouldn't incapacitate you and make you feel like you're in prison and you can't fulfill your desires. That's not okay. So that's why the conclusion is that you fulfill your desires in your imagination, and you don't force anybody to do what they don't want to do in the physical. But imagination, you can imagine anything you want. If you alchemize the shit, like negative emotions, whatever you want to imagine. If it feels good, it's yours. Of course, I mean, everybody probably, if you can have a lucid dream, you probably have no problems of experiencing whatever you want. And if you alchemizing the dark negative emotions, you're probably not gonna imagine something bad or evil either. If you skip this step, if you skip your soul, you skip your heart, then you may dream about something fucked up, and that's black magic. Okay. And that is in contrast with somebody who does the white magic. And the only difference is the alchemist. If you're an alchemist, which is basically a fancy word of saying facing your emotions, you know what I'm saying? Then whatever you want is the will of God. And if you don't do alchemy, if you have a soul of the heart of gold, then you're probably imagining some fucked up shit, right? And but if you have, again, I'm repeating myself, but if you have alchemized, and then whatever you imagine, then that's not fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Trying to say, because okay, so I think I have two things to say. One thing is about the gender sides of these worlds. And for example, if you're a man, as you can see, your role is to take the alchemy side of your soul, magic side of your mind, and the might side of your body. That's what you want to focus on as a man. You want to be as much as possible polarized towards the masculinity. The more you polarize towards the masculinity, the more femininity you're going to attract, and the more you're going to feel whole within yourself. And there's some limits within the masculinity and the femininity is like that. The feminine factor, or like the goddess in the soul, the goddess in the mind, and the goddess in the body, the primary purpose of that feminine principle for you as a man is to please you in all possible ways that you want to be pleased. But it will only meet you in the middle. You got to make those actions. You got to make the emotions for the feelings to be there. You got to create intentions for the dream to be there. And you got to take action for to have the change in the physical world. That feels good. That sensations that you receive feels good. And fulfilling, that's fulfilling your desires. But there shouldn't be any doubt that the most core principle of femininity is to please the masculine. And the more of course the deepest principle of masculinity is to create. It's to move in a way that it's moving in a way that appreciation, for example, that's one word would be, right? And actually be pleased by something that you're supposed to be. That's what appreciation, right? And and you're totally fine not to be pleased by something that you don't want. But you got to be that leader, that guide of what leads to the center and what leads away from the center. And that's the role of the masculine. Okay? That's the role of the masculine. All right, it's 42 minutes. 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. Let's finish this off. Okay? So yeah, as you can see, the masculine and the feminine, and this is why it's incorrect of trying to be, if you're a man, okay, the challenge is for you to be a man here. That's your challenge. And anything that stands in the way of overcoming this challenge, you do. And the biggest thing that what a man can do is to face existential and emotional pain. That's the man's job. If you don't do this, then you're going to be a dighead. You're not going to be a man. And for a woman, the biggest job is to alleviate the pressure, to surrender, alleviates the pressure, and the courage faces the pain. And so that's how you can polarize yourself in the soul and identify more to the masculine side than the feminine, which means that you are in a relationship with the feminine. And as if you identify yourself more with wisdom, then you're going to have a strong relationship with love. But you're going to identify with wisdom, with light and love. And that's totally fine to identify with that, because that's what you play. You play the character of a masculine, hero. This is why, like, this polarity and this unity that everybody's looking for is not to become, which people think, well, I'm just going to be sort of half man and half woman. No. You become as man as possible to complete and complement the feminine. And so therefore you're going to attract somebody who is as feminine as possible, and that union is going to be there. The experiences is that, like, you are as a man in a relationship with love, and as a woman you are love and in the relationship with wisdom or light. You're sort of like guided by the wisdom because you're love, and as wisdom, you know, you see, because it kind of works back and forth, because wisdom needs love to be to, and love needs wisdom. But this is what I found out to be the case, that in that complete gender acceptance of your gender, complete all the way to the bone, is where it lies the maximum connection with the unity, right? Not in that, like, well, I'm just gonna be neutralized, like I'm just going to be half man and half woman, and you think that that's gonna be, and then what you're gonna get, you get these men that are weak, and so they're neither man neither woman. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then they're supposed to, like, oh, I've accomplished, I'm a hermaphrodite, I'm half now, that's my, no, you cheated at this game, and you did not make a journey as a man, as a hero all the way, or as a heroine all the way, and you cheated and you gave up on life, and you just went straight to the neutrality, so you feel safe and secure. That's cheating in my book. Because why the fuck would you be masculine polarization? What if you just made a mistake? No, you chose to play the game. I'm not saying that the next life you're not going to be a woman if you want to do that. And if you're going to be a woman, then the role is going to be identified as much as possible with love, obedience, and care, if that's what you choose to play. But make no mistake, man. Yes, it may be difficult to be all man or to be all woman, but not trying to be all man or woman. See, this is like going to the center, and it says, then I'm just going to be half man, half woman. No. This is why you get like a masculine woman who don't want to be masculine. Sorry. And then you have a masculine, male who are feminine, who don't want to be feminine, but they just pretend, so it's easier to get along. You see? So my view is, freaking, if you're a man, see how far you can take what it means to be a man. And if you're a woman, see how far you can take it, what it means to be a woman. Not straying too much of that center. And that's where the beauty is going to be. Then the beauty is like the final, look guys, the final satisfaction and desire of God is physical. That's when it's all come together. That's what we call a fruit of life. If you're in the heart and saying like, well, I feel whole in my heart. Yes, but where's your partner in physical? Well, I shouldn't say where's your partner in physical. I don't want to make you feel like, you're doing something wrong, but I should say, are you imagining something like a harmonious relationship in the physical? Or are you imagining this, the life of solitude and just aloneness? Then the game is not complete, and you're not going to be fulfilled. I don't give a shit how much you're connected with God. You're not going to be fulfilled. There's something always going to be there nagging you that ain't fucking right, and it's time for us to admit that is the case. As long as you allow for this reality, it's like, oh no, yeah, I actually, if I'm honest with myself, yes, I do want to have a beautiful and harmonious relationship. I want that. That will be the fulfillment of my desire coming in. Yes, I may need to do the work in my heart, I may need to do the work in my mind, but in the body is just what, like, this final product. I'm planting this seed and caring for this tree to bring me that fruit, that delicious fruit. But if you say like, nah, I'm interested in just planting seeds, I'm just a seed planter and I don't care about the fruit. That's ridiculous. That's martyrdom. That's somewhere there's the denial. So let's just be cool with this, man. I'm totally honest about this because I'm not here to be, like, blissed out by myself. That's not fun. Blissed out with the family and friends and a wife and the kids and a family. That's life. That's real life. That is a life that is natural and real. All of these other things are fucking fucked up. You have these, even the guru and disciple dynamics, and sometimes it's healthy. I'm not saying that they're all cases are not healthy, but most of the time it's just like some old fucking fart, and then it's just whatever gender is that over there, and they're all like in love with this. Like, it's almost like they're trying to replace the role of a grandfather or a father in their life, And I'm not saying maybe some people may not have that or whatever, but even if you don't have a grandfather or the father, there's still going to be some person in your life that is going to come in and play that role, right? That's natural. But if you're trying to create that artificially, something's going to be off. You can have a family that is not your family by blood if you're not lucky enough to have that, but that's natural to me. Seeing all these guys that are fucking bouncing off their fucking asses and some fucking guy raising their kundalini, get the fuck out of here, man. What kind of abomination is that? This isn't just another way of getting lost in bullshit, man. What the fuck do they want? I'm sorry. You can see that I need to get out my aggression. I'm gonna do some martial arts to get my animal out. Oh, this is something that I wanted to bring it home. Okay. Right. Again, no matter how much you alchemize, no matter how close to God you are, you still have an animal body. Okay? And just finally accept that fact. Don't try to say like, well, no, I'm not an animal. As long as you're not animal in your heart, be animal in your body. Like, if you want to fight. If you want to, lift weights. If you want to have a crazy ass monkey sex, do it. If you want to eat something amazing, delicious, and a massive freaking steak, do it. Accept your animal side, but it is safe to accept your animal side if you're taking care of your heart. Okay? That's my take. And if you are completely close with the feet on the ground and your head in the clouds, you'll be somewhere in the middle. Completely accepting the most animalistic thing that is natural for you to have and the most divine thing that is natural for you to have. That's where you're going to be happy, fulfilled, and all the levels. Because if you're going to be with the head in the clouds, and it's like, no, I don't need sex. No, sex is for the animals. Well, I don't need meat because the meat is for the animals. Or like, I won't hunt the animal because that's cruel. Well, where the fuck are you, man? You came to wrong planet for that. And you didn't make a mistake. You're just being, a pussy about it. And animal cruelty and eating meat is non-related things. And I don't want to get into a different topic right now, but I'm just saying that you don't have to be cruel with animal, and and at the same time, cycle of life. Okay, we are still animals. in the body. Again, as long as you're not an animal in the heart, you're going to be, the only way you can fulfill all your bodily needs if you accept the fact that you're an animal. And honestly, I can tell you honestly, the more I face my emotions, the more primal I become in my body. That's the reality that I'm witnessing myself. And I only go by what I'm seeing. And body needs, you can alchemize all you want. You won't fucking do this. They are here to, the sensations and the drives, the bodily drives are here to be fulfilled. The only problem is then when, that's all there is, then that's a problem. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to bring it home. Sometimes people may have a confusions about, oh, I want to have a craving for that, for to have sex, and that's not okay because that's not holy. It's bullshit, man. If you have an alchemized lust and there's a psychological addiction to it, okay, that's great. But if there's a primal bodily need to smash, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Beast power. That's the definition of you being in control of the beast. Beast is not going anywhere. You just tame it. That's what happens. It's either beast in charge or the soul in charge. But when the soul is in charge, beast is an awesome thing to control. Anyway, peace. See you in the next one.